I'm going to be sharing a few evergreen campaigns based on signals that you can run regardless of developed your outbound sales systems are. Now, first and foremost, there's 12 campaigns that you could potentially run, and they're bucketed into 3 categories. And so category number 1 is based on activity and intent signals that we can find very easily, mostly on LinkedIn. So let's get a move on. So recently hired or promoted ICP persona, right? So let's say that you're targeting VPs of sales, marketing, HR, doesn't matter. So regardless of what the role is, whenever they are freshly hired or promoted, your persona will be under pressure to perform. Therefore, they will be open to making changes, which is your window to make a good impression, reach out with relevance, ideally combined with other things that you can find about the company. But essentially, they are in a more buying mood when they have been recently hired or promoted. You can easily do this on LinkedIn. You can find somebody who has been recently promoted, that people even promote that about themselves on LinkedIn. You can even use Sales Navigator and just build a list like that, as well as you can use tools like a little bit more advanced tools like, for example, Clay or Apollo or tools like that to just build automated lists of people like this. Secondly, we've got funding rounds. I think that is very intuitive, but essentially when a company gets a new funding round, and obviously this applies only to companies who get funding, when a company gets funded, they have a new influx of cash that they can then distribute on different things. It's usually growth oriented, it's usually hiring oriented, it's usually spend oriented when it comes to marketing, when it comes to any essentially department. Therefore, you can then reach out again with relevance and ideally again combine it with other indicators, but with relevance, reach out to people and simply ask them, hey, are you looking to, and then insert your solution, right? Again, you can use different tools. You can use Google Alerts. It's a very good way of searching for keywords. You can use, again, LinkedIn, people promote about it. You can also use tools like Crunchbase in order to find which companies have been funded in the last XYZ period and then reach out to those companies, find their decision makers again on LinkedIn. Now, I mentioned this before, job postings, a great signal that you can always use to reach out to your decision makers, either to people who are hiring for these roles or to reach out to adjacent roles, depending on who you're targeting, as long as the job postings are in relation to what you are selling. For example, I personally am selling outbound sales systems and helping people hire SDRs and build outbound sales and do outbound for them. Therefore, I reach out to people when they're hiring for SDRs or account executives or in general expanding their sales teams, sometimes even marketing teams, etc. Customer milestones and expansion announcements. This is very useful, especially when you can use Google Alerts, you can use LinkedIn, you can even programmatically use Clay to go and find for new signals with specific keywords like new offices or product launches or growth milestones. So these are all buying signals that you can then use to reach out and mention, obviously, as long as it is related to your offer. Now, the second bucket is behavioral and engagement signals, which essentially you can rely on existing data and infrastructure. And this is probably even easier to implement than the first bucket because these leads have already shown some level of interest and curiosity. And we've got 3 essential buckets that you can leverage in this specific phase, which is 1, website visitors. You can use tools like RB2B to see who is viewing your website, who is landing on your website, and then reach out to those people, call them, find their contact information, connect with them on LinkedIn, send them cold emails, etc. You can then use lead magnet sequences. Essentially, if you have any sort of lead magnets, whether you have any lead magnets, any resources, anything that you essentially can share that people can download, you've got a list of people that you can reach out either via email or go and find them on LinkedIn and find their phone numbers and then call them. And then finally, you can reach out to people who have visited your LinkedIn profile, or maybe even when you were sharing your lead magnets, they were commenting on your LinkedIn posts. They were in general engaging with your content if you share any content anywhere. Again, this is situational. Doesn't mean that this is going to be ideal for what you're doing, but it's another way of generating demand. And ideally, when you see a LinkedIn profile visits, you can then connect with those people, reach out to them, especially obviously you need to check whether they belong to your ICP or not, so you don't waste time, or rather your SDRs don't waste time. But then you can reach out to those people and set meetings in that way. And then finally, the last bucket is more of a strategic and opportunistic bucket, which leverages different bits of information like data and timing and some insights. It is a little bit harder to implement, but definitely effective. And you can always do this on your own. And so just go into your CRM and search for closed losts. And essentially, you can very easily reignite by cold calling them. Hey, it's been a while. We've done X, Y, and Z. In the meantime, you mentioned that you had another tool, or maybe you mentioned whatever you mentioned. You go through your notes, and then you potentially book another meeting. You can easily use this to book 10 to 20% more meetings per month just based on this. Or you can just do it like every quarter. You can re-engage closed losts from your CRM. When they change their tech stack, so they've either started using a tool or they stopped using a tool, or things basically that signal that there is a potential change in technology, which gives you insight into two things. One is they are changing their tech in general. Maybe they might change the tech that you're selling, if tech is your solution, or they're changing specifically the tool that you are selling, the type of tool that you are selling, which allows you to then catch them in the moment of transition. And this is a pro tip: always try, whenever you're on the phone and you are selling against an existing solution, always try to find when their renewal is. And you can easily just say, hey, totally respect that you have another tool. Could you just share when your tool is up for renewal? We would like for a chance to compete for your business, if that sounds fair. It always sounds fair because you're showing them respect, and they're going to always tell you when the renewal is up. And then you can even say, all right, when the time comes, do you think that there's anything that you might find useful to change, or you would like to see different going forward? And then you reignite the conversation there, potentially even book another meeting. Lookalike companies from your closed won or your best ideal customers that you can then search for. There's a tool called Ocean. It's a very useful tool that you can then use for finding lookalike companies. You can even use instantly for that. There's a filter for something like that. But essentially, it automatically finds companies that are similar to the ones that you're looking up. And so it's an easy way to find more good fit companies. Competitor churn, I think that aligns very similarly to number 9, which is essentially, if you see that they're changing the tool that they're currently using from your competitor to yourself, or you know that they're not satisfied with your competitors, you can just run a competitor campaign and just position yourself as a better alternative to what your competition is doing. And finally, announcing partnerships, new collaborations. Essentially, it's similar to the news signal, but it's more of a strategic investment and strategic signal depending on what you are selling. So I hope these have been useful to you. If you would like to get actually help with implementing some of these strategies, whether it's on this video, so any of these campaigns, or in regards to what you've seen from previous videos, feel free to book a call underneath this. It's totally free. We'll go through your outbound readiness report, and from there, we'll see if it makes sense for us to continue working together, or you will just leave with some really useful pieces of information that you can use to build your outbound sales infrastructure. Don't be a stranger, and looking forward to having a conversation with you. Take care.